Welcome to the Cool Fireman Podcast, a virtual firehouse kitchen table with What's a Rolfie, Unky, Fireman 1231, JDB Cubed, and Fireman Freddy. Let's get to the show. Welcome, everybody, back to the Cool Fireman Podcast with the Dear Chiefs Podcast. We are doing a very fun crossover episode here with our new friends, Audra and Chelsi. Welcome them to the podcast. Thanks for coming on, lady.
Thanks for having us. So fun. I can tell it's gonna be rowdy.
It's gonna be rowdy. If you guys haven't checked out the Dear Chiefs podcast, look them up. They've got a very active Instagram going on right now. You can find them on all podcast platforms. I tell you what, it is not just for the fire wife. It is very good insight for those of us who actually do work the job. It helps us get into the minds of what our wives are saying about us when we're not at home. So we are going to dive into something today. We're going to try and squash some misconceptions. We're going to have some fun. It's going to get rowdy. That's just the way it is. But to start off, I think the best way to do this is we're going to take about 5 seconds real quick, and we're going to do a moment of silence for anybody who may have lost somebody in the first responder family this past week. So 5 seconds of silence, please. Thank you very much for that. We do that every podcast. It's very important to us. So
I love that. Very sweet.
Right out the gate. The big topic, I guess, that maybe gets overlooked the most is what happens when we're at work and you guys are still at home and you have the kids, or you have your own careers, or the house, the windows are leaking, or the sink overflowed, or the toilet backed up. And my wife, who is an avid listener to the Dear Chiefs podcast, gave me a list of things that she wanted me to bring up today to discuss amongst all of ourselves. So
this is gonna get real dirty.
My God,
I can tell this is gonna get really dirty because none of this stuff, Freddie, none of this stuff actually happens. They just say that it happens, and then all of a sudden it's magically fixed the next day. We get in 8 o'clock in the morning. I walk in with my backpack. Oh, honey, it's all fixed. The spigot was leaking, but I took care of it. I was like,
oh God,
they're the heroes.
That spigot's still leaking. Like 6 months in, that spigot's still leaking.
You heard it here first. We are definitely the heroes, Audra. I think I have to agree with Freddie on that one. Like, we're the real heroes in this scenario, right?
Yes. So, Audra, Chelsi, if you could do me a favor and say hi to Emily real quick, that would be awesome.
Hi, Emily. Thanks for listening.
Hi, Emily. You are definitely the real hero.
So, the first thing that came to her mind almost immediately was actually brought up on one of your guys' podcasts, and it is the default parent. So, can you guys dive into that just a little bit, and what that means to you, the default parent?
Do you want to go?
I was going to ask you if you wanted to go, but I would go. I will start and you can finish. How about that?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we have to start with what is the default parent. The default parent is the parent that the children go to the most with their worries and their cares. It's the parent who is the steadfast person that's always there. They know if I call mom or dad, whoever that default parent happens to be, they're going to be here. Like I know for certain this is going to be a thing. So it's just, they default to that person because it's natural, right?
That's where they get the yes answer.
Actually, no.
No. The default parent is not the Disneyland parent. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, the default parent is very much the well, 18-year-old's giving.
Do you want to say the rule maker? Like what?
I think
What do we say?
No,
think
it's
most
the one that's
consistent. I
there.
think it's they're consistently
The consistent one.
the line, consistent, constant, steadfast, whatever you want to call it. And that comes with a pretty heavy mental load, like really heavy mental load, especially when you're in a circumstance like ourselves where your husband or wife may be gone 48 hours, 72 hours, in my experience, 30 days. So that default parent is really, they have no choice but to be the default parent, right? If they're the one at home, there's no other option. And so, does that answer your question about what a default parent is?
No, I think it's awesome. I love the term default parent too, because, and I don't know, Fred and Unky, I don't know if you can relate to this, but a lot of the time, so I have a 10, an 8, and a 4-year-old at home, and it happened more when they were a little bit younger, but it's happening less now. But I'll get called mom, like, "Hey, mom," and then they'll look at me like, Dad. That happens all the time. And it's just, it's no fault to theirs. It's just they see their mom way more often than they see me. That she's obviously the default parent. So, which I don't mind because I am home, and at 3:00 in the morning and the 4-year-old walks into our room, she goes to her side.
Love that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So I guess to dive further into that, what exactly specifically does your wife want to know, Freddie?
Well, I think she was throwing topics out that she thought were very good conversation things. And it's funny, some just completely clicked in my head, and it's weird when we were just talking about that default parent is there's times that I'll be, I don't know, sitting in the living room or something, and my daughter will come from downstairs, walk all the way past me, and go into the bedroom where my wife is doing something and ask her to like help her with something in the kitchen or something, or like completely. And I'm like, hello.
So
I'm right here.
I'm gonna actually say the same thing I said on the last podcast that we had with anyway, the one that you referenced. So that same day, that same week, my husband had come home after being gone for, I don't even know, like 15 days. And one of my kids was like, I was in the middle, I think I was writing something for Instagram or something. I don't even remember what I was doing. Something I was involved. And he's literally like coming at me with questions. And my husband's standing not even 5 feet away from me. Like, what the heck, dude? I'm standing right here. And it was like this moment where I was like, wait, wow, this really does happen. This is, I had an out-of-body experience almost, like, whoa. And then I was like, you could see like this sad look on my husband's face, like, dude,
I'm not needed.
Am I invisible? Like, do I exist? And I felt so bad. I was just like, this has got to be, I can't even imagine being the person that isn't the default parent in these situations, coming home and having the kids still coming to mom, especially when they're older, because I feel like we all desire to have a relationship with our kids, obviously, even when they're young. But when they get older and they can actually have a reciprocal relationship, that's got to be so tough for them, like to come home and it's just like automatically they're coming to mom or dad, the other parent. And so Audra and I are big advocates of not calling ourselves solo parents or single parents, because there is another person that comes home that you can rely on to some extent. You're making parenting decisions, you're making, financial decisions and things for your kids. And so if anybody's listening to this and you call yourself a single parent when dad or mom is gone, please stop, because that's not accurate and not doing you any favors. You are a default parent for sure, but you're not a single parent. You have a guy or a gal coming home to you. That being said, if you are a single parent listening to this, all the more power to you, and our hats are off to you. I was a single parent for a while, so I know what that's like. And it's definitely way different than being married and having a firefighter or first responder coming in and out of your house. So.
With that is a good pivot point to another topic that she said is very prominent in our house, and I'm sure it happens across kind of all first responder families, but Matt had spoken about it at one point on another podcast, kind of just off the cuff, very nonchalantly. But when Emily had listened to our podcast, she was like, "Oh my God, that happens here every day," and it's where she feels like, or maybe we feel like, we're in the way. So we're gone. When we're gone, you guys have to develop a routine. It's just the way that I'm sure that you guys survive. And this is obviously coming from my side of the fence, but you know, kids got to get up at a certain time, eat breakfast, and we're going to eat lunch. Maybe we're doing homework. They have to get picked up, sports, extracurriculars, what have you. You guys got that down to the minute or what have you. And then here comes a bull in a china shop getting off a shift, and they're like, "Hey, what can I do? I'll start making beds. I'll empty the dishwasher." And there's been times that my wife is like, so at some point today, can you mow the lawn? Like, just outside, somewhere else? And oh yeah, absolutely, I'll help. When you have these conversations, you realize, oh, I'm in the way. Like, she has a routine that she goes through every morning to keep some type of structure.
Yeah, it's pretty standard. I mean, we talk about it a lot, integrating back into the house in two different ways, right? It's like, one, making sure that the firefighter's in the right frame of mind to walk in the door, and two, that the family can function as a unit again when they come back home, right? We've talked about this on the podcast a lot. Chelsi and I talk about it all the time. But it's one of those things where it's like, I know for me, I have to consciously pay attention to allowing my husband space to live in the house, right? Because you go through this like routine when they're not home, and then they come home and you're like, "Oh my God, why are you here?" And then it's like, "Oh shit, you live here too," right? Like,
why are you here?
Shit. So I practice this, and we were actually joking about this yesterday, because he just came off of a 72-hour shift yesterday and came home, did a bunch of stuff for our neighbors, comes back, gets in the pool, and he's like, "What can I do? How can I help?" And I'm like, "You can just sit there. I'm going to do some stuff, and then I'll let you know if I need anything." And you could tell he was like, he wants to be part of it. You want to come home and feel like, not that you're needed, but that you are, well, wanted, right? That you live here too. And it's a very conscious effort to make sure that they feel that they're still part of the household when they haven't been for a few days. So it's definitely a practice. I mean, we've been doing this for 16 going on 16 years, and I'm still like, "Oh, wait, no, yeah, you can totally cut the lettuce," or "Sure, do you want to barbecue?" You know what I mean? Like, stupid stuff where it's just getting him to feel like, "Oh yeah, I'm in this house too," like, you know. So it takes a lot of practice. But yeah,
and I think,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think too, like, we're constantly having conversations in our house about what are your plans for today, right? So even this morning, like, before anybody was up, I asked, my husband's on vacation right now, so like, he's home, which is amazing because he's been gone for so long. And it's crazy, and I don't really know what to do with him since he's here. Oh yeah, that's what your face looks like. So he was sitting here this morning, and I'm like, "So, like, what do you plan today? What did you want to do today?" And I think that that's a really important question to ask, because they may have, even coming home and we have our routines and we're doing our stuff and the kids have their places to go, they may have something they want to do with us or they want to do on their own. And that just, like, that preloaded coffee in the morning conversation gets us off on the right foot. So now we're all on the same page. These are the 10,000 things I have going on today. What do you want to do? You know? So, just a thought.
So I was just going to piggyback off the whole routine thing because, like Freddie said, I brought it up before. I think it's a huge topic between married people, in the same household, and coming home and just not like, do I empty the dishwasher? Does that help? Or you know what I mean? Like the routine, like you're just not in the routine. I mean, we've said that over and over and over already, but it's very important. But we bought a new house 4 years ago, and I told my wife, I said, what? I'm like, why? Or I asked her, I said, why did you put the silverware right there? And she's like, well, that's where it's supposed to go. And I'm like, okay, so I dealt with it. So I go to work, and the silverware is always in all of our firehouses. We only have 4. In all of our firehouses to the left of the sink. So I grab a spoon or whatever. And then when I go home, and it's as dumb as this, like maybe people can relate to this, maybe they can't. I go home and I swear to you, I pull that same drawer at home, and it's where our cutting boards are. And I like slam it shut, and I'm like, God damn it. I'm like, seriously, like there's supposed to be spoons right there. There's supposed to be a fork, but now I have to do an about face and turn around because it's across the island on the other side. So I open it up and I get a fork. I swear to you, I do it every time. And what's funny is I was out of work for 6.5 months. I had a medical problem. And so I was out. So I was at home for 6.5 months, and now I'm doing it at work. I'm like, I flip around to look for a gosh darn fork. Like, dang it. I'm like, I can't win. This is crazy.
Well, you're kind of lucky that all the spoons are in the same place in all of your stations, because
Right?
that is not true for my husband's stations. That's for sure.
I'm like, I go to try to cook it. Camera station is like, what? Is this like a junk drawer? What the hell?
Yes. Me and my
drunk drawer.
what's happening here? Like, I can't even find a spoon in half of the stations. Like, I don't even know.
Is there even a knife in here to cut anything with? Like, what the heck is going on?
Seriously.
We have a drawer just for knives. So like, they're like, where's the knives? There's no block. Oh, it's over here in this top right drawer. And then you open it, and all you hear this, and you're like, what the hell? And there's like literally 15 knives that are just dulling each other. That's like all they do is just dull. It's terrible. It's terrible.
I think one thing that comes up with the feeling like we're in the way too is it is like pounded into your brain when you're on probation or when you're one of the newer guys on a fire department that if somebody is doing something, you need to be up and either helping or doing something else. So like at home, it's hard to kind of like flip that switch from home to whatever. And so we get home and I see Emily folding laundry or whatever. And it's like, oh, here, whatever. I know how to fold a towel. Get away from me. And it's like that ingrained that in your brain.
Is that why every time I'm in the kitchen, my husband has to be in the kitchen too?
Yes, Chelsi. Yes.
100%.
Yes.
If somebody at the firehouse is cooking, unless you are not a good cook, and then we kind of usher you out and tell you to wash the dishes afterwards. But if somebody's cooking, somebody should be setting the table or cutting vegetables or, flipping burgers or something. Somebody should always be in there doing stuff. So
I'm like, well, you get out because I'm Italian. Okay. So my kitchen space, right? I want to be cooking by myself. I don't want 3 people in my kitchen with me, right? I couldn't be a firefighter for that very reason. Like, get out of my kitchen, leave me alone.
I struggle.
Yeah, like and so when he's like up in my business, I'm like, dude, will you go somewhere else?
I'm relatively new on my fire department, and I was working with 2 newer guys the other day, and I was in there cooking, and I could feel them like just hovering right here. They're like, Freddie, are you sure? Well, what can I do? And I'm like, set the table. It's set. You want me to cut some back? You want me to flip that bacon? I'm like, dude, can you, like, I have timers going in my brain right now, and I know that I have to flip the bacon, and then I'm going to go over here, and I have like 4 minutes to chop up this. And by the time I finish chopping this, I know I can go, like, if you start jumping in, it's messing everything up. And so translate that to home. My wife says, hey, I got 10 minutes to fold this laundry before the next load has to go in. And here I jump in and I start pairing socks or something. what are you doing? What are you doing?
We have this running joke in our house with the kids when my husband, he's totally still on probation at the house. The kids will be like, Mom, Dad's being a firefighter again. Like, he's hovering. Oh, like, yeah, I know. Just everybody chill. Like,
he's on probation at the house.
I'm going to make him in a shirt that says Proby. He needs a shirt that says Proby.
House Proby. Yeah.
Proby, Proby, or Proby Dad, or Proby Husband.
Proby husband. Yeah. It's just one of those things where you're right. It's ingrained at you at birth in the firehouse where you're like, I must be doing something because somebody else is doing something. I don't want to either look like I'm lazy or that I'm not ready at all times, but it's this constant, like, I can't sit down if they're not sitting down kind of like in it.
It's 100%.
Okay, so then
crazy.
tell me this. When I'm sitting down and I'm relaxing, why does my husband feel like he needs to go do something then?
Oh, that's not the case in my house. I don't know. He can't sit still.
I feel super uncomfortable. Like if Emily's sitting down and I'm like, okay, I should be doing something if she's Like,
do you need permission to sit down almost?
Yeah, because that's that. To be honest with you, unless you're a senior guy at the fire department, if you sit down and there's senior guys doing something, you're wrong. That's it. You should not be doing it. So if you're sitting in a chair and there's a dude downstairs washing a truck, you're wrong.
That's interesting. I mean, because like both of our husbands are captains now,
but they see you as a battalion.
We're the captains.
So of course, yeah. I'm the captain in the house. Always
and now
I know what my role is. I outrank him. Like that's it.
I think we just got a promo. Mark that. I'm the captain now.
We're gonna have to make a meme about that tomorrow, Chelsea. I don't know.
Yeah. Yes. Do you guys have and I don't know how everybody else's department works, but any type of Mando anxiety? And let me explain. And that is where you know that for us it is what it is. Like we know it's coming up. But for the other side, I'm going to call it the other side of the fence. Just in my brain, it works better. But for the other side of the fence, like, okay, I know he's like next up to get mandoed, and it would really work out great if it could be Thursday. There's overtime on Thursday. It sounds like he might get mandoed on Thursday. We only have a couple of activities with the kids. So, we can help out with parents and stuff. We can make it work. And then somebody swoops in and picks up the overtime last second and you don't get mandoed. And then it's like, oh, crap. Now he's going to get mandoed on, daughter's dance recital or something like that.
I thought I had this one, Audra, but this is more your wheelhouse.
So, yeah, I'll give you our Mando spiel because for us, Mandos are few and far between.
Okay.
Because my husband's department is very small. Typically, I mean, I think in 15 years, he's got mandoed maybe 10 times in 15 years. Okay. Overtime is a different story, obviously, right?
Stop.
Yeah. Mandos are way different. He'll take overtime all day long, but Mandos, he's maybe gotten, I think, maybe one a year. And last year was brutal, so that one didn't count. But
so there's enough people that pick up overtime that the Mandos don't have.
The guys are really good, and I say guys because unfortunately there's no females in that department currently, but the guys are really good at when somebody's going to get forced or mandoed, they will step up and take the overtime. Usually. Yeah, they work really well together to make sure nobody's getting forced. And they have a list. So, if you know where you're at in the Mando. And if something's coming up, especially for the older guys, we have a lot of young guys in our departments that have babies still and young kids. And so the older guys that will just say, hey, if you have something going on, let me know and I'll take the overtime so you don't have to get mandoed. That's the beauty of our department, really, truly, because we hear the worst stories. Chelsea's a whole different animal.
I have, but I'll kind of speak to that a little bit with the whole forced mando, whatever you want to call it, held over, hold all.
Yeah.
A whole different beast. So to answer your question, yes, there is Mando force hold all anxiety for sure. I know that in the summertime, because my husband, that's just the nature of the job, that there is going to be mandatory overtime. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I can tell him before he ever knows that he's getting forced. Like, I'm like, when were you planning on telling me that you're going to that fire that's like, out of county? Right? And you're laughing, but it's true. Right?
I thought you had like some intel on his telestaff and you could see exactly when he's up for the force.
No, I'm like, so there's a like, for example, he worked in Clear Lake Oaks for a little while. And I'm like, there's a fire in Sonoma County. When we telling me you're going to that and you're going to be gone for 3 weeks. Like, it'd be nice to know. And they'll say this, like, I don't know how she knows, but she knows. So, and there's been times when I know there's big fires in California and he's going on shift and I'm like, okay, see you in a month. Bye. And I think when the kids were little, it was a little harder because of course they had a lot more going on. We had toddlers, like they're running around, their mom's constantly on, all the time and has to be doing a lot of things. But now that they're teenagers, it's easier. It's never easy for people to be gone out of your life that are supposed to be there like all the time. But I think we have our things that we do and I just try to make it a good experience for them as much as possible. So like, for example, and we've talked about this millions of times on our podcast, but for example, my kids like to try new TikTok trend recipes. So when dad's gone for a long time, that's one of the things that we'll do. We're also big Marvel fans. So we'll do like Marvel Universe marathons, or we'll order pizza and we'll sit in the living room and we'll have movie night, or we'll go out to ice cream, whatever, just to make the time a little bit more enjoyable and a time to kind of almost look forward to versus, oh my God, dad's forced on duty again. We're not going to see him for another 30 days. This sucks, like,
oh man, when's dad getting forced again so we can have pizza?
Right. And then also to minimize that, like if he is at his station, we will try to go and visit him as much as we can when it doesn't conflict with our schedule, obviously at home. So, or his schedule at work or whatever. So, I mean, there's been times that we visit him like at the heli base, like, during a huge fire because we can, so just stuff like that, I think, minimizes the sting a little bit. But yeah, the anxiety is definitely there. I don't think it ever goes away. Do you
guys have family in the fire service before you? Like your dads and uncles and whatever?
I do not. That's not true. My grandfather actually worked for CDF when CDF first started.
Okay. But nothing direct. The reason I brought it up is because like for me, like I didn't grow up with a dad in the fire service, so I didn't know what it was like to be a kid of the fire service. And so my kids now are my first generation fire service kids, if you will. And so like maybe it's a little bit easier for them than we think because this is just all they've known. I mean, I've been running 24-hour shifts way before they were even born. And so now that they've come into our life, they've just kind of adapted and it's probably way more harder. And this is what we're talking about between, husband and wife than it is between, dad and kids. But
I think it's both. That they grew up with it. So it's all they know.
Right.
But I think it still stings a little when they know dad's not going to be home because there's things that they want to do with dad that they can't do with mom, or vice versa. There's things they want to do with mom that they can't do with dad. And you can never replace the parent that's away fully. So I think you're right. I think it is all they know. So I don't know what would happen if we threw them into, like, I'm going to say it, Audra, civilian life. There. I don't know what would happen if my husband all of a sudden was working a 9-to-5 job and was home at 5:00 every night, or was gone 5 days a week, 9 to 5, but home on the weekend. I don't know that they would know what to do with that. But I think they'd probably eventually really be like, wow, so this is what the rest of the world feels like? Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is for real.
I will say this is good to expand on. I think children of fire families are significantly more resilient and able to adapt and overcome. And I'm not trying to cut down civilians. I'm waiting for Ox's reaction. I'm not trying to cut down those families because every family's different. But like, my kids, much like Matt's, have only known me being in the fire service. I was hired 6 months before my son was born. And anymore, Christmas is not December 25th. It's the day that we open presents. You know, birthdays, it is your birthday on your birthday, but you have a party when dad's off work, or Easter or what have you. And I really do feel like they adapt and overcome so well, being a fire family, that any of those little bumps in the road or whatever, my son has said before, like, oh, okay, yeah, no big deal. Like, I'll tell him, hey, bud, I picked up overtime on Friday, so I'm not gonna be able to take you to practice or something like that. And he'd be like, okay, no big deal.
Yeah. They almost expect it. No, yeah, and they almost expect it. Like, at least our kids do. They almost expect it. Like, for example, my 13-year-old is going to be playing football this year. And I'm like, okay, well, you're going to play football on Saturdays. And I don't know if dad's going to be able to be at like every game. And he's like, I already knew that. Like, you did not need to tell me that, Mom. But at the same time, I feel like we have to preload those conversations so there isn't that element of disappointment. And I think that's where, as fire families, we're really good about the communication piece. And you're right. They are absolutely resilient. And they absolutely expect you to not be able to make it to things that may be important to them. That being said, I think it's really important that we do show up to the really important things, the things that they can't do again, like graduations.
Yeah.
Weddings, whatever. I know that our family in particularly makes sure that we take the vacation time during those important times. This year being a perfect example of that. Aiden graduated from high school in June, and Cameron was like, I can't miss graduation. So that's like 3 weeks off because he didn't want to miss scholarship night. He didn't want to miss awards night. He didn't want to miss. So he had like 3 weeks off in June. So between May and June. But yeah, so I think it's really important that we also address the monkey in the room of there are certain things that are really important and that we can't get back.
That should not be missed.
That should not be missed. And I have heard so many people, and it's ironic to me. It actually kind of makes me angry that have told me that their husband's missed graduation because he had to work. And I'm like, how?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. A year ahead of time when your kid's graduating, you should be able to take vacation day. Like, what is that?
Try a little harder, I guess. Without condemning people.
My son was baptized in January. I'm on probation as a firefighter when I got hired, and I was at our Type 3 station, and we went out to like the Glendora Hills for a strike team in January. And we get to our little rendezvous point, and I'm on probation, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut. But the chief goes, hey, does anybody have anything coming up? And I'm like, dude, I have in like a week and a half, I have this baptism. But I'm like, there's no way we're going to be out past a week and a half or however long it was. Sure enough, it's like 3 days before, and I go up to my captain. I'm like, I got this baptism, and he's like, oh my God. But they ended up swapping out. I had a guy drive up and swap out with me. They were really cool about it. What they said behind my back is probably different.
None of your business.
But it did.
Yeah, but thank God you asked.
Yeah. Because look what happened when you asked. They were able to accommodate you, right? And I think that's part of the thing is like, especially when you're on probation, right? You're so scared to actually tell people you have a family and that you have stuff going on outside of your job that is important.
Yeah.
But it's amazing what happens when you have a decent captain and a decent battalion chief, and they're like, dude, you need to go home. Like, right.
And that's what flipped the switch for me. Was I talked to my battalion chief on the phone, and I'm like, Chief, I have this thing, and he goes, dude, your family is number one, always. And he goes, this job is number two. Obviously, this job helps provide for your number one, and you understand that. But if we can make accommodation, which we can, all you got to do is go up to talk to the very scary strike team leader and tell him that, you're going home, because I ain't going to call him, is what my battalion chief said. But he was like 100% for me. And it was just an amazing leadership quality that he had, that, he basically made it happen for me. And maybe, want to ask. And anyways.
So I think there's also lies that we tell ourselves, right? We tell ourselves that, oh, this battalion chief or that battalion chief isn't going to support me and my family. And maybe we've been burned in the past, and that's why we're telling ourselves that lie. But like Audra said, like, you just ask. What's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to say no, and your lie is going to come true. Like,
right. Exactly. Yeah, it all worked out, which was good.
Don't put feelings in somebody else's head. Don't answer questions that you haven't asked yet. That's huge. And I guess with that being said, like, try and be the guy, you talk about trying to be like a good person in life and whatever. Try and be the guy that, is in tune. You don't even have to be an officer. Be the guy that's in tune with your crew. Like, hey, like, just this morning, congratulations, Kyle. We got a text on our unit thread. His wife just went into labor. So congrats, Kyle and Ashley. I hope he listens. Otherwise, I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. But, so now there's a mental note in my head, like, okay, this dude has a brand new baby at home, and he's going to need doctor's appointments. He's going to need X, Y, and Z. So it's like, for me, and it sucks because he's on my unit and it's harder for me to help out. But like, in my mind, it's like, hey man, if you ever need a day off, let me know. I'll work 4 hours on a trade for you, or I can hang over in the morning for you and stuff like that, to where, you're being a good person, and you're being a good coworker, and you're helping out that fire family. Because realistically, if we're all going to try and do this on our own, we're all going to fail. We will all fail. If half of us try and help each other out, it'll be significantly better.
Yep, 100%. And I think for us, like, we don't have little kids at home. So, sometimes I say no, but most of the time I say yes. They'll be like, can I pick up this overtime shift so that this person with a brand new baby doesn't get forced? Like, yeah, unless we have something going on, absolutely. I remember being that wife that had the husband that got forced when I was trying to take care of babies and things. So, yeah, just having a little bit of understanding and knowing where you came from, too, I think is real.
Spot on. Hey, I was thinking about a topic I wanted to ask you about was, so we're talking about how we work, 24-hour shifts, but sometimes, and most of the time, it's 48, 72, 96, 120s, whatever. And so let's say I just got off a 72 and my buddies are saying, hey, let's go out for a beer. And so I worked Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. They're all, working 9 to 5. They got home, spent time with their wives and their kids Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but I'm at work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I get home Thursday. Hey, we're going to go hit some balls and get a beer. And I'm like, well, I don't know how this is going to go over. Maybe I'll ask, maybe I won't. But so it's kind of like the topic of me, whether or not I should go out for the beer and hit balls with the guys on that night. But it's mostly like, you guys have a lot of girlfriends, and you guys have a lot of friends that of husbands that aren't firefighters. So they don't work. They don't have our schedule. They don't have our routine, although they have their own, right? We're not putting down civilians. But it's, I had to say it. But like, it's just a different dynamic. I've been at home for 3 nights with the kids and sports and dinners and breakfasts and lunches and school and all this kind of crazy shit. Whereas they've kind of had this like mold of, their husband's there every once in a while because they're at work and not at work, whatever. But it's just it's a weird dynamic with your friends when they don't have that same schedule that we do. They've been at home all day or all week with their kids, and then the husband finally comes home and wants to go out and get a beer. So I don't know if you have anything to say about that, or any different points that I talked about.
I mean, I think 10 years ago it was a different story, but I also had, 4 kids in the house, and 3 of them were under 6. So it was like, please God, don't go get a beer. I need, an hour of like help. But now it's totally different. Granted, he still went out and played golf or whatever, but it was more like, it's kind of the same thing we've talked about. Chelsea and I talk about it all the time, is like, check in, see what's going on. Does anybody have something to do? Like, how's the wife feeling today? Maybe she is really, really needing a break. Or, how's the spouse at home doing? Kind of again, it's about communication and checking in and making sure like everything is cool, and then just doing what you need to do. I mean, my husband plays golf all the freaking time now, but I'm like, it's fine. I don't care. The teenagers are pretty self-contained or whatever, and we don't need him. Not that we don't need him home as much, but I don't need as much help as I did, right? And on days when I do, I'm like, dude, please don't golf today. I have this going on. Like, he's out there taking care of whatever the heck they're doing. I can hear dishes going, because I'm like, I got to record and I need you to deal with whatever's happening. So stuff like that. It's more just like, you got to communicate with your spouse and know like where you guys are at, whether or not, they have plans, who has plans, who's doing what. And if you're even, feeling like, yeah, I can, use a couple of hours by myself or whatever. Because sometimes, maybe you get that, invitation and you're like, dude, I really don't want to go, but I also don't want to say no to these people, So it's like, do you need the wife to be like, no, please don't go? Or do you need the wife to be like, yeah, it's fine. And then you're like, shit, I don't want to go anyways,
Right. Yeah. So I'm really lucky because mine doesn't really want to do any of that stuff. He gets off shift. He wants to see his family. So I don't really have much to say about that other than, yeah, use your wife as a scapegoat if you really don't want to go out,
Yeah.
I do it for my husband all the time. I'm like, nah, Damien's at work. I can't go. Like,
yeah.
Are you ladies good at making like date nights with your friends and just going out with your girlfriends, or do you guys? Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'm a homebody though, so like I mostly want my girlfriends to come here, and I do that when he's on shift, so I'm not taking away from our time together. So
yeah, it doesn't. I just do whatever. I don't know. We like our time with our friends and our time with each other. We've been married for 21 years. It's like, yeah, okay. I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you. I'm going to go have a drink with my girlfriends. Like, we're good.
What do we want to talk about that we haven't said already?
Right? Exactly. No. We schedule our own date nights, and then we schedule our friend dates, and it works really well for us.
Yeah, I just thought.
How about you with the new babies down there?
Well, that's what it is. We're just at home the whole time. That's about it. I go out to different.
yeah, he's scheduling date nights with his babies. Come on now.
Right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 3 a.m. feedings.
Right? 3 a.m. date nights. Yeah, totally. Oh my God.
It's bottle service at the Unky house.
Yeah. Lucky, you're a better man than I, man. Goodness.
That's just bottles.
Sheesh.
So there's a couple, but so compassion fatigue was a topic that you guys just covered, and it's very interesting to me because I never realized that it existed, if that makes sense. And I think I understand it a little bit. But if you want to expand on it, it's basically like, yeah, you were at work and you were up all night. I get it, but Jimmy was throwing up all night, and I didn't get to end the call and go back to the station and play Xbox. I was up all night too. So
How dare you?
Put on your big boy pants and help out around here. So is that like the cliff notes of the compassion fatigue? Like you do understand that we didn't sleep, but you really don't care.
Yeah, I feel like you nailed it. That's it. That's the cliff notes. I don't think there's anything more to say.
No,
We all knew. We all knew it. We knew it.
Draw a line in the sand.
There's two sides of compassion fatigue, right? There's the compassion fatigue you guys feel at work.
Yeah.
And it's the routine calls and the shit that you have to deal with every day when you're just like, no, I'm done with this. You guys are all full of shit. This is ridiculous, right? And it's the same thing with us at home. And we're like, dude, I don't want to hear it today. Get in here, do what you got to do. So it works both ways works for us, works for you, right? We're just, everybody is at this, not all the time, but at this level where you're just like, I don't care. Like, I'm sorry you had a shitty night, but we still have to do stuff. So move on, right? It's the same thing, when you go on a call and you go to the same person's house over and over again, and you're like, oh my God.
We don't do that. What do you mean?
Every
Show up to the same,
in their own right.
Totally. Yeah. 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 When, you show up to the same campfire that's gone off 5 times and you're just like,
You hit the nail on the head. It goes both ways for sure. And God bless my wife's heart. She's so selfless that if you were to say that to her right now, if she was to come behind me and you say that word compassion fatigue, she'd be like, oh yeah, Matt has compassion fatigue. Every time I pass by somebody or I'm driving and somebody doesn't use their blinker, I go off. I'm like, you couldn't just use your blinker? Like, sometimes people just piss me off. And then of course, like there's another whole subset of people that we run on a lot at work, and you just have compassion fatigue. And I mean, of course, at work, you treat everybody like a human being. It doesn't matter what walk of life. And I believe there's a lot, there might be a small percentage of people that have even a hard time being compassionate towards those types of people. But I'd like to say that a heavy majority of the people do. In fact, we just had a conversation about that exact topic with a paramedic intern who doesn't know shit from Shinola, and he's treating guys. We have a jail in our town, and he's treating this guy like he's a thug. And afterwards, we had to be like, dude, you don't talk to a human being like that. It doesn't matter if he's in jail. It doesn't matter if he's at, we also have a homeless encampment in the canyon for people that don't have the means to have a place to stay. And so we go out there a lot. And so you just treat them like a human being. We see them for 15, 20 minutes. And then if they go to the hospital, we push them off on the nurse. You know what I mean? And it's their it's their deal now. I wouldn't say problem, but it's their deal. Like they got to take care of this person. So anyways, yes, that's the nice part about being a paramedic. But compassion fatigue is the real deal for sure. And it goes both ways, just like you said. So you hit the nail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a good way to approach that or deal with it within this relationship between first responder and fire spouse, fire wife?
I think it goes back. Yeah, I think right. I think that it goes back to communication.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm having a hard time right now because I've been stuck home with the kids, or I have something going on at work, or just making sure that everybody knows and is on the same page about how everybody's feeling. I think it's a lot easier to be compassionate with someone, even during compassion fatigue, if you know the truth of how they're feeling and being and what they've seen at work and what. It just goes back to that communication piece. That's everything when it comes to this stuff, right?
Totally.
So,
yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah.
So I have a question. And I get this a lot, and she might not even realize she does it. So we're about to break the glass on this. But do you
remember she's gonna listen to this?
I know she's absolutely gonna listen to this, and babe, this happens all the time. Do you guys lose ownership of your children when they do something incorrectly? Example, the phone rings. You need to talk to your son. And I was like, oh, he's my son now. Okay. Not our son. No, okay. And it's, what did you do? And then so,
no.
Well, do you mean your wife does that when you're on duty?
yes. Like if I'm at work
no.
and like my son does something, it's like, hey, you need to talk to your son.
No. I think Chelsi and I are in agreement with this. I tend to not put the burden on my husband when he's away because I know he's dealing with his own shit and I don't want to give him the shit that's at home because it's already stressful enough. And I mean, what are you going to do on a phone call? Right. Dude, stop acting like a fool. Like, no.
I actually have a spin on that though. So we talk about everything. We have date night chats. So every day for however long, we have a phone call from work. Get his face.
Oh, sorry. My daughter is making a necklace and she just held it upside down and all the beads fell off.
That sucks. I know her pain. I know her
Is
pain.
this pretty? And I go, yeah. And then she grabbed it and it fell and I went, oh no.
So back to what was I saying? Oh, so we have our everyday phone call, what happened at work, what happened at home. So he's very aware of all of the things happening at home. I don't burden him with discipline pieces while he's at work. So if the kids really screw up, then they know if it's while dad is gone, they're getting mom, and he's probably more lenient than I am. They're going to get the book thrown at them. So from me. And he totally backs me up on that when he comes home. Right. But I'm not calling him being like, you need to talk to your kids. They're out of freaking control, you know?
See, I personally, and this may be just me, it makes me, it's that connection, you know, how we're talking about the being in the way or whatever. It makes me feel like I am still connected to the household if, something happens at home that they're not supposed to do, minor, major. I mean, we have really good kids. They really don't do a lot of big mess ups or whatever, but it gives me that connection still, that I am still a part of the process, that it's not, I have to come home and download everything.
Right. So I would recommend doing exactly what Cameron and I do, the daily check-in, right? Whether it's through a text, an email, a phone call, whatever, and being on the same page about what the discipline pieces are so that she can deliver the discipline, and then maybe you can back her up while you're at home, because that way she's not losing ownership of her kids, right?
Right.
And you're not now taking ownership of your kids. You're both owning your kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think if it works for you, I think that's cool. It's not going to, everybody's different. Every parent is different. Every, relationship is different. So if it works for you, I think keep doing it until it doesn't work. Until you feel like, okay, this is actually a burden on me. This is stressing me out at work, or, whatever the case may be, then just have a conversation about it and change it. But I don't know. That's crazy. I mean,
I catch myself saying your son or something like that, but it's never really like, you need to go deal with this. It's more just a joke.
Yeah. I'm like, please
talk to what your kids did today. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's like are you
to your child?
Are you guys the type that call or text like twice an hour, or are you guys like twice a day or like once a day? What do you guys do? Because I work with guys where they'll talk to their significant others or their kids or their kids at least twice an hour. Like their phone's just ringing off the hook, right?
Yeah.
And whereas Chelsi, my wife and I have always been pretty like maybe once during the day, maybe if there's something that we need to talk about, but it's always before bed. Like if I don't call her before I go to bed, then that's like a weird thing. Or if she doesn't call me by a certain time, then I know like maybe something's wrong or whatever. But yeah, I've worked with guys where their phones are just like ringing. I'm like, dang.
That's not. So Cameron and I have our nightly phone call before bed. That's pretty much when it happens. But I mean, we text throughout the day, not in like an overly crazy way. Like he'll text me or I'll text him, but it's not like all the time, constantly.
Yeah.
Right. No. Unless there's something significant going on that we do absolutely have to address, that's just not happening. I feel like as a person that's been an employee and an owner of a business, I would not want my people on their phones all day long. Like that's just distracting. So I try to let him text me.
Yeah,
and I respond.
And I'm just more curious because like anybody that's listening to this that gets phone calls a few times an hour, like that works for them. You know what I mean? And so I was just kind of curious, and I work with all kinds of, the whole gamut of however many phone calls or text messages they get throughout the day. So I don't think there's
no, we don't do that either.
Yeah.
And how do you guys feel like if and then I guess you kind of answered it, but like there's times where, like, for us, Mondays are it's our in-depth truck checks, and we have to clean the station, check the state. Like, Mondays are our long days. We're working until 4 or 5, sometimes o'clock with just a lunch break. And there's times where it's like, oh crap, it's like already 5 o'clock and I haven't talked to Emily yet. And like, I almost feel guilty to the fact that I haven't reached out. Like, does it go through your mind? It's like, dude, what's going on there? I haven't talked to him all day. Cause that's how sometimes I feel. It's like, oh crap, I need to reach out. Cause I haven't, texted her or talked to her at all today. And it's not out of like forgetfulness. It's more of like, man, it was just 9:30 and now all of a sudden it's 5 o'clock and we've been going.
No, I mean, it's the same for us at home, right? It's like, we're doing stuff. We're busy. I don't expect him to check in because I know he's working and he's busy too. So unless there's some major event or something that he like needs to know right away, I'm good. I mean, I know, like Matt said, if I don't hear from him at some point, like usually toward the end of the evening, I'm like, what's going on? They must be busy or something. Then I'll just shoot him a text like, everything okay, blah, blah, blah. And then, but it's like, I'm working, I'm at home, I'm doing my stuff. I also, not that I don't want to be bothered, but it's like, I'm not necessarily going to have time to check in with you. So I don't expect you to check in with me kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a little bit of a spin on that too. So we obviously know that we're going to talk at some point during the evening. And he has asked me, if you do not hear from me, like if I haven't said, let's chat at such and such time, dude, just remind me because I might have been busy. And it's not that don't want to talk to you. It's that I've just been busy. And so I think that like, hey, what time do you want to chat? Is definitely a thing. He's saying something to me. Or he forgot. That's what he's saying.
Right. Hello, friend. Hello, friend.
I'm in my earbud, but they said hello.
I think that's just, it's just circumstantial. It's like, what's your relationship need? That's all it is like, if like maybe some wives at home need to talk to you every once in a while just to kind of like get some, like they need to talk something through, get some stress off their chest or whatever. It's just like, that's what they need.
Yeah. And it's just like you said, like there are, I know some that like I'll be talking to my husband and I hear he's like, yeah, so-and-so's talking to blah, blah again. And I'm like, again? Oh, okay. Like that, if that's what they need, that's fine. But for me, I'm like, once a day is good. I'm good.
Yeah. There's nothing.
They're calling on me so much.
Right. Yeah. And it's kind of funny because I was just having this conversation with my husband's partner the other day. He told me that he doesn't keep his read receipts on his phone, even for his family.
I don't have that either.
He doesn't want his wife being like, you read this an hour ago. Where is my text message back? Right. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, we have our read receipts on. And I'm like, if he didn't answer me, he's probably busy. Like, it doesn't like totally doesn't bother me. But, everybody's different. So,
yeah. And typically if my husband is calling me more than once when he's at work, it's because he has for him, he's got some shit going on at work that he needs to talk about and he can't talk about it with other people. So, other than that, it's
about
like,
those people.
Exactly. When he's like, I'm coming unglued here. I need a minute. Like, and I just, I need a sounding board. And I'm like, okay, tell me what's going on.
Remind me not to pick up OT on B shift ever again.
We won't talk about that here. Okay.
It's more like a text message.
That's a home conversation. Okay.
And he's like, it's an even bigger flex when you're sitting at the kitchen table with all of them. Remind me not to pick up overtime on this shift ever again.
Oh my God.
Oh gosh.
So primarily, who does the cooking for you guys? Because for the most part, on days that I'm off, I cook. Emily does a great job of feeding the kids when I'm gone. She doesn't like to cook. She does cook and she does a good job. But when your husbands come home, or Matt or Unky, like, are you guys the primary, like, all right, Freddie's home. He's on his 4-day. I know I got 4 nights where I don't have to cook. What's the, I guess
No, we take turns.
Okay. I do my research. I know that we both kind of have a very similar way. I don't want to say to end, but that we do at some point during the podcast. You guys do it. A hot seat, I think you call it, right?
Mm-hmm. It's a dispatching term.
Research.
That's it. It's a dispatching term.
We call it. What do we call it? The turnout drill. The hot wash. I don't know. We call it
we're figuring it out.
We're like 29 episodes in and we still don't have a name for it. So we're killing it. But we like to do some questions. I know you ladies like to. So I don't know if you have them prepped and ready to go, but we can do like a lightning round rapid fire if you want. And we can all ask each other questions, and we
have nothing prepped, but we can.
I have a script from yesterday. We're good to go. Let's go.
Follow it.
Oh, there we go. All right. So this is one of our favorites that we ask every time. Is anybody that you could have a meal with, lunch, whatever, dead or alive. Doesn't have to be in the fire service, but anybody you would ever want to have a meal with.
For me, Audrey Hepburn.
Ooh. Okay. I like that.
You like that? Isn't it right away?
Yeah. Princess Diana.
Yes. Oh my God.
The
So
People's
good.
Princess.
That's awesome. It's funny. We had Jillian Crane on. She's the president CEO of the First Responder Children's Foundation, and we did a collaboration with Taylor's Tins to try to get them some money. And so she was so awesome. She came onto the podcast and we did that question, and she had made a mention that all of us used men, and we were like, oh my gosh, we did. That's and she even used a man, and she was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I should have said a woman, but now with the 2 women, so I thought that was kind of cool. I don't remember what Jillian said. Do you remember?
No, not off the top of my head.
Doesn't matter. She's not here.
Okay, so
Brain cells.
the answer, because that's actually one of our questions, is if you could have dinner with 3 people that are alive, who would they be?
All right, well, that works. So she actually flipped it on us and made us answer, and I'm going to stick with mine, but I get to add 2 more, so I like it. I said Babe Ruth. I'm a huge baseball fan, but to throw it in there, I'm going Jimmy Buffett is going to be at the table also. I'm a huge Parrot head. Love it. And then I'm going Gordon Ramsay.
Ooh. Oh my God, you want to get like assaulted mentally by Gordon Ramsay?
I want to be an idiot sandwich. I think that
I want to hear what Jimmy Buffett has to say to Gordon Ramsay.
I'll be honest with you, that would be a very interesting dinner with Babe Ruth, Jimmy Buffett, and Gordon Ramsay.
Dude, that is so funny.
How about you? What's your 3?
Well, I've preferred to have dinner with alive people than dead. But I really never thought of it. I just do a candlelight dinner with Matt, because Matt has not been done any face-to-face with us. You've seen Nick, Doug's seen me, Doug's seen Nick. So I would do a candlelight dinner, some salmon, garlic and herb, with olive oil with Matt.
Oh my God.
Garlic and herb. Okay.
That's one of Unky's big seasonings is garlic and herb.
And Matt only eats salmon. If you watch his videos, he only eats salmon.
That is not true. That is not true. I did a video.
And salmon.
I did a video, and this punk kid, makes a comment on my video, and he goes, "If I were you and I had a heart attack, all I would eat is chicken." And I'm like, well, if I was you, then I wouldn't be me, and I would probably do something bad to myself. I don't know. Jeez.
A guy that does nothing.
Freaking give me crap.
Man, who's your 3?
I don't know. I don't have to. I would definitely sit down and eat with Jim Carrey. I'm a slapstick kind of comedy guy. I've been watching him since 1990, whatever, 4. I was 10 years old when Pet Detective came out. Best movie of all time for me is that's my number one. Wedding Crashers is my number 2. I'm a huge. I love comedy. I think that comedy, it makes you happy and gets you through the day. Who else would I sit down with? A baseball. I would want to sit down with probably I'd want to sit down with Ken Griffey Jr. I'm a big baseball fan like he is. He's amazing. In fact, I used to have another podcast. The guy worked for the Angels that would come on our podcast all the time, and he was in the dugout when Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr. went back to back home runs. So I thought that was kind of cool. I'd sit down with them. Then the third one, no politicians. I hate politics. I think they're all crazy. I would sit down with Goofy from Disney.
Nice.
I love Goofy.
I would sit down with Goofy. Exactly. Yeah. And I don't really have a good reason why. I just think he's awesome.
Like Goofy and Jim Carrey would be BFFs.
Oh my gosh, the 3 of us together. Oh man.
All right. How about ladies' favorite Christmas movie?
So mine is Serendipity. I celebrate Christmas. It's Serendipity. It's the best movie ever.
Okay.
Miracle on 34th Street, the original.
Oh,
Classic.
classic one. The
It
classic.
is my least favorite movie. I know, Chelsea. I'm sorry. I literally hate that movie.
The fact that it is.
We are
the fact
about
that
to
you
break
admitted
up
it.
a podcast here.
So offended right now.
Well, Chelsea, to help you out, your movie that I've heard of.
Oh,
We've never seen it.
Serendipity's good.
I never heard of it.
Oh my God, it is so good.
Well, to be fair,
Good.
I watched actually maybe one Christmas movie, and I only play Christmas music for an hour at the house on Christmas Day. That's it.
Oh no, we're gonna start Christmas about
I'd
Hot
like
to
to actually change my answer
Oh,
to
Die Hard.
yes.
That's not a
Yes.
Christmas movie.
Hey, you watch it.
I'm just kidding. I knew that.
Watch it.
I knew that.
It is not Christmas until Hans Gruber falls off the Nakatomi Tower.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Go ahead.
Let's see. What's your favorite joke?
Go ahead, man.
Tell us your best dad joke.
Oh my gosh, off the top of my head.
Here, I'll go, because I use this one all the time. All the time. What do you get when when somebody asks you, like, hey, what time are we leaving for the thing? I'm like, what do you get when you cross an elephant and a rhino? Elephant.
What do you call a witch on a beach?
Well,
What do you call a witch on a beach?
What?
A sandwich.
oh, yes.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Oh,
geez, effort.
I don't have nothing off the top of my head.
You got nothing.
Twin brain then.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
When somebody says right, I go left.
What we have this one, and I don't ask it enough, and we really should. If you could play one song every time you walked into a room, what would it be?
This is easy. The bitch is back.
Oh my God.
Love that song.
Audra's just the hamster is spinning.
I feel like it's a Tupac song.
It was actually going to be an Eminem song, but now I took it back.
Oh, nice. Eminem.
I love it.
Real Slim Shady, please stand up.
Like till I collapse is my like.
Till I collapse is a really
Yeah. I think I mean any Tupac song for sure. Dear Mama.
There you go. He worked at a restaurant at the end of my street when he was
Really?
Yep.
Oh, I love that. Oh my god, I'm a huge Eminem fan. Oddly,
Wait, is it us? No, it's you guys.
we have another one, Chelsea.
If you don't, I have one to finish us off.
What is your motto in life?
I think Ugly
right
said
to
his.
King.
If you
What's
tell him
the
to go
motto?
up, he goes right. Is that right, Unc?
Mine's let's eat.
Let's eat.
My motto.
That can't be wrong. I really like it's actually a Jimmy Buffett song. Actually, I don't know if it's a motto, but it's more of a mantra like to think about. It's breathe in.
Weather is which you're beautiful.
Yes. But it's breathe in, breathe out, and move on. I find myself saying that very often, and it's definitely something that I want to add as a tattoo. Somewhere I'm trying to lobby the boss here for like a quarter sleeve. And we'll see. I think she listens to this podcast. We're trying to lobby for a quarter sleeve, and I wanted to incorporate something to the effect of like some palm trees and breathe in, breathe out, move on, because I think it works in a lot of situations where you get frazzled or upset about something and just hold on. All right, move on.
I got one for you, Fred, then. Okay? You make a fist and let it go. That's what you do. There you go.
Like that?
Oh, yep. There you go. Hey, okay, this one's for Chelsea. I think we can finish up. Is Mickey Mouse a cat or a dog?
Is Mickey Mouse a cat or a dog?
What? Mouse?
Is that a philosophical question?
So confused.
What is going on right now?
Is this his spirit animal?
Oh, wow. Oh, what is it? There we go. That's a good way to end.
I know. That's the second time I've mentioned Disney, too. That's kind of weird.
Yeah,
You're a
Disney
Disney. You know we're Disney nerds.
No, we're Disney nerds.
Oh, I didn't know
He's
that.
a dog.
Oh, man. Doug would have been.
No, silly. He's a mouse.
Upset.
Oh my gosh.
Doug's
Okay.
gonna be upset. He's a huge Disney nerd. And he has the
is
biggest
he?
fire department.
All right. We live.
Very good. Actually, Chelsea, your husband wins. Our biggest fire department, I think.
Nope. Second largest in the world.
No, to all of us.
Yes, but it's
And the
so it's
same?
bigger than Doug's.
Yeah.
It's bigger than Doug's.
How many kilometers do they cover?
The entire California state.
Oh, so like 72 fathoms.
Okay. I mean,
That's the metric
bigger than
system
Doug's.
in random measurements.
Any idea how many miles it's long? I got those.
One
he
of us, in a previous podcast, one of us mentioned something about meters or some type of measurement in Europe, and Doug about had an aneurysm about it.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
It was you, Matt, and I kept texting you and like looking up different measurements and just trying to squeeze them in the rest of the episode. And he was mad. It was literally mad.
All right.
Oh, ladies, this has been incredible. This is by far one of the best episodes that we've had. I appreciate so much that you gave us this time. Hopefully you enjoyed yourselves. Hopefully this is something that maybe we can do more often. This was super fun. I feel like we only scratched the surface too. I feel like there's so much more that we could cover. But thank you so much to Audra and Chelsea from the Dear Chiefs podcast. Check them out on Instagram and where you can find podcasts. They are pushing Instagram content out all the time. They have an Etsy store. Go get your wives that super crazy tumbler. They're going to love you for it. I bought my wife one today. thank you so much for coming on, and we will check you out next time.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thanks so much. This has been fun.
Thanks for coming on. Shift change.
Thank you. Shift change. Roll it, Gigi.
Before you leave, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and give these firemen a huge thumbs up. Also, make sure you check out the coolfireman.com for more. Thanks!